Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed, and today I've got this compact Duroc pork loin that I'm going to turn into my steakhouse chops. We're going to cut them extra thick, butterfly them, get them seasoned up, and then I'm going to glaze them at the end with the bourbon butter glaze. Doing all this on my new PK 360. Let's get to cooking. So when I got this compact Duroc pork loin, it come in a big bag and it needed to be trimmed up a little. I just cleaned the fat off the top of it, got that silver skin off. It had a little bit of that skirt meat on the side of it. I wanted just a really good center cut piece of pork loin that I could turn into these big monster chops we're gonna do. Now once you get it cleaned up, you gotta slice it for the chops. And so what I'm gonna do is I wanna imagine that I'm taking a piece about as wide as my hand here, and that's where I wanna make my cuts. And I know it's gonna look like a big pork chop, but I want a big serving. This is a pork chop that you would get in a steakhouse, and it needs to be, 12 ounces of good pork. So we're cutting them kind of thick to start. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take each one of these individually, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna butterfly it. And what that means is we're gonna take it and cut it in the middle, but you don't wanna cut all the way through. You wanna make a shallow cut and open it up. It's gonna butterfly out, and it gives you this big chop that now we've got a chop that's the size of a steak, and that's going to be great. Once we get it seasoned up, we get it grilled off. So now that we have our chops butterflied, it's time to get some seasoning on them. And I'm going to use my salt, pepper, and garlic. I know you've seen me using my AP rub. Get a good coat of that AP. These are thick cut chops, and they need a lot of seasoning. And we're also going to put a layer of coarse rub on it. It's got some garlic, some onion, some pieces of oregano, some really good herbs in it. Of course, it's got some salt and more pepper in it. But this gives these chops a lot of texture. Now we're just flipping our chops over. We're gonna do the same seasoning, AP. And you just want a good coat of this steak rub. I mean, that's where the steakhouse flavor is coming from. So we've got our chops seasoned. They just need to hang out for a minute, not long. It's gonna be perfect time for us to fire up this 360. Let's get a chimney going and get it hot. So I'm gonna fire up a chimney of charcoal today, and I'm just using Royal Oak Chef Select briquettes. We're gonna use a couple wax starter cubes to get them going. When they get good and hot, pour them in the bottom of your grill. On this 360, I'm keeping them over on one side, and you can do the same thing on yours. We wanna make that two-zone fire. We got a hot side and a cool side. Throw a couple chunks of cherry wood on the fire so we can get a little bit of good smoke going. And you'll notice I've got a set of grill grates right on top. These are gonna give these chops some beautiful grill marks. You want to put a light coat of cooking spray on there and just let the 360 come up. Whatever grill you're cooking on today, you want to make sure you got proper airflow, let those coals get good and hot, and create that two-zone fire. So while the grill's coming up to temperature, I'm going to put together this bourbon butter glaze. We're starting out with about half a stick of butter, some brown sugar, a little bit of honey, a little bit of Dijon mustard, and you got to have some good Kentucky bourbon. Let all this come together, stir it real good, and reduce it by half. It's gonna get real thick, real sticky. That's when you wanna get it off the heat and just let it hang out until we get ready to glaze the chops at the end. All right, I got my 360 good and hot, and I've got that two-zone fire going. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start these chops over on the hot side, get some good grill marks on them, then we're gonna finish them over on the cool side. And you can work in batches. You don't have to put them all on at the same time. Get them on and press them down a little bit. Get a good contact with the grill. I'm gonna put 3 on here this first go. That looks right to me. Get a timer going for 2 minutes. Okay, it's been 2 minutes on this first side. We're gonna go ahead and get a twist on these chops so we can get our grill marks going. Just pick them up. We're just giving them a spin. A little tilt. The lid closed. Get that timer going again. Let's go 2 more minutes. All right, we've been a total of 4 minutes. Now these chops should have some really great looking grill marks on them thanks to these grill grates. Now we're gonna get them over to that cool side. And check that out, that's what you wanna see. A good hatch pattern on them. We still got a ways to go, but we can go ahead and start our others. We're just gonna let these hang out over here in the cool zone while we put these on. All right, these chops have been on first 2 minutes. Time to give them a twist. Get that lid closed. 2 minutes. All right, it's time to flip these last 2 chops over. What kind of grill marks we got on them? Oh, those look beautiful. Perfect marks. Now we've got these chops all on the cool zone of our fire. We can go ahead and start looking at our internal temperature to see where we're at. This one's closest to the fire. And you can see we're still coming up under 100 degrees. We've got these great looking sear marks on them. Now we just want to slowly bring the internal temperatures up. We're going to get that bourbon butter glaze on at the very end of them to really make them shine, give them some awesome flavor at the end. But we just need to let the internal temps come up. We've got a little ways to go. It don't take long, but I love bringing them up slow. So let's get the lid closed, let these chops cook. So we're really not worried about time at this point. It's all about internal temperature. Use your thermometer. We're gonna get them off when they get to about 135. That's perfect for me. They're gonna carry over a little bit. They've been on this hot PK 360. It's gonna make them carry over. Doesn't matter what grill you're cooking on, you can do this. Just set your grill up for a 2-zone fire, just like I have. You'll have some great steakhouse chops in a matter of no time. All right, our chops, you can see we're starting to get in that 130 degree, 132, 133. I don't want them to go a whole lot longer. So now's when you want to start getting this glaze on. We've got that butter, bourbon, brown sugar, honey glaze we've mixed up. And I'm just going to start putting this on the tops of these chops. And we're going to let the heat cook it down and glaze it over the top of them. We're just hitting all of them with this thick butter and bourbon glaze. Now we're going to get the lid closed. We're going to let this glaze cook down over these chops. And they're going to finish out those few degrees. It's going to take them 5-10 more minutes tops and they're going to be done, but you want to watch them and get them off. They're in that 135 range. Hey, if you like your chops more done than that, go right ahead, cook them a little longer. It's not going to hurt my feelings. They're perfect when they're about 140 finished out. They still got a lot of juice in them and you never have to worry about a dry chop. Hey, these are almost done. We're going to get them off in a few minutes. We'll show you and we're going to get them on the board and I get to try them. That's the best part of the day. All right, so we've been glazed for about 5-6 minutes and I know these off ones, we're looking about 136. I mean, that's perfect. That's right where I want them. We're looking good. These chops are ready. Let's get them up. But I want you just to see how amazing these steakhouse chops look. I mean, they got perfect grill marks. That bourbon butter glaze all over the top of them. I know they're gonna be cooked just right. I can't wait to try one. Let's let them rest for a few minutes over on the cutting board. I'm gonna cut into one. All right, our chops have been hanging out for about 5 minutes here. They've carried over just enough. Man, you want to eat them really hot. That's how I want them at least. But real quick, before I cut into one, let's talk about what we did. We started with a big piece of that center cut pork loin. I cut it extra thick, and then we opened those chops up right in the middle that we created, and it kind of expanded them, it butterflied them out. It gave us that steakhouse portion chop. And you know that's a meal, a chop this size. Seasoned them with that salt, pepper, garlic, AP rub, a little of that coarse ground steak rub, and then we got them on a hot grill. Cooked them on my 360 today, 2-zone fire, and that's what really does justice to these thick cut chops. It lets us put a sear on that first side, and then when we flip them over, we get them up and we get them to the off side, and we can watch those temperatures. We can slowly come up. We made that awesome bourbon butter glaze that we put over the top. It's got them sticky. It's got a lot of caramel flavor to it. Really makes these chops pop. I'm gonna get one off and we're gonna try it. I'm gonna get this thick one here and let's just cut into one and see what we got. See what we're working with. Oh, look how that meat's just, it's got a perfect cook to it all the way through. A little pink, and that's okay. Pork chops, hey, if that scares you, cook them well done, but I like mine this way. Perfect through and through. And I'm gonna get a piece out here and get a bite of it. I wanna make sure I get a bite with some glaze on it. Cooked perfect, it's tender. The compart meat just melts in your mouth. I love that bourbon glaze. The butter brings a richness to it, and that bourbon really comes through, but it's subtle. It's got really good flavor. You can taste the salt, pepper, and garlic. That's what we want in those rubs, and that bark that the steak rub creates. It's amazing. Hey, these chops truly are steakhouse quality. I'd be proud to get one anytime I went to a fancy steakhouse. You can do them at home just as easy as I did. Give this recipe a try. It's simple, and I promise you, you're really gonna love it. Hey, thanks for checking us out here at HowToBBQRight. Subscribe to our channel if you wanna know when we're putting out new stuff, and you can send those questions and comments to our Facebook and Twitter as well. We love those. We're gonna try to answer all of them. We'll see you guys next time.